So, as many of you may know, the newest rumour is that WB are actually planning to develop their own DC gaming universe, consisting of WB Montreal's new Batman game, a potential Superman game, Rocksteady's new game, and many more games to come over the coming years. However, I was thinking to myself, how should WB handle this new DC gaming universe? Which IPs should they give to which developers? How should they fully handle the DC gaming universe to make sure it's the best that it can be? So in this video, I'll be discussing how I think WB can handle the DC gaming universe to get the best video games over the next coming years. To begin with, we'll be starting with the three major big companies that WB actually owns: WB Montreal, Rocksteady Studios, and Monolith Studios. So, for WB Montreal, I think that WB should gift the IPs of Batman and The Flash. We already know that the Batman game is in development over at WB Montreal, but we do not know what their second secret project is. There is around about 500 employees at WB Montreal, so if you split it, you would get two very good teams working on two very good games. And I think that The Flash is the IP that the second team in WB Montreal should be working on. A Flash game is well overdue. He really deserves some sort of video game treatment, and who better to do it than WB Montreal themselves? While they're working on this new Batman game, the other team can be hard at work developing this new Flash game, and once the other team are done the Batman game, they can go fully in depth to this Flash game to get it out as fast as possible. That'll be around about 250 people working on a Batman game and 250 people working on a Flash game. So both would release fairly close to each other, and then the other teams can work on DLCs for these new games, or they can go ahead and develop a sequel to the Batman game or a sequel to the Flash game. Rocksteady Studios could very well handle both IPs as Teen Titans and Green Arrow. We already know that Rocksteady Studios are actually working on a co-op style IP at the moment, and many people are being led to believe it's either Suicide Squad or Teen Titans. I think Teen Titans would be an excellent choice because basically Rocksteady Studios already has many of the mechanics for some of the Teen Titans characters, such as Robin himself, and they've been working on it potentially over the past 5 years, so that game could be the best it could be. Once they release that around about probably next year, they could then go on to make a Green Arrow game. The kind of gothic and very dark nature of the Batman Arkham series always made me think that Rocksteady Studios could pull off a Green Arrow game very nicely. They already have the very stealthy mechanics that were used in the Batman Arkham series to use for Green Arrow, and all they would have to do is already take techniques such as bow and arrow techniques and mechanics from other video games and then implement it into their own and make it their own. Rocksteady Studios has been known to develop single-player games between a space of 2 to 4 years, so this game wouldn't actually come out that far after Teen Titans, meaning that they'd be developing two very excellent games almost back-to-back. And then for the final big company, we have Monolith Studios, who I believe they could develop a Superman and Wonder Woman game. Obviously, Superman and Wonder Woman, we just need video games from them. They're two excellent heroes, and they really deserve video game treatment, just like The Flash, Green Arrow, and Teen Titans. I think that they could pull this off very nicely with the work they've done in the past. They have been known to really think outside the box and come up with excellent mechanics for their games, such as the Shadow of Mordor games. I think that if this was possible, this then could lead to a potential Justice League game, because we would have had a Batman game, the Flash game, a Green Arrow game, and then a Superman and Wonder Woman game. Monolith Studios is actually quite big as well, so they could be developing, or they could potentially develop, a Superman and Wonder Woman game simultaneously, and then they could release those games very close together, and then all three big studios, WB Montreal, Rocksteady Studios, and Monolith Studios, could all build up to a massive Justice League game. Now, those were my ideas for the big companies that WB owns, how they could be doing the bigger IPs. However, I also have an idea for the more smaller companies. Bear in mind, when I say smaller companies, I mean the companies that actually helped WB Montreal to Rocksteady Studios make their past games in the past, helping them develop kind of character models and buildings so they could implement it into the game so they could get the games out faster. Obviously, there would still be that same communication between the smaller studios and the bigger studios giving the smaller studios assets like characters, vehicles, and buildings so the smaller studios can get their smaller games out faster. So to start with the smaller studios, I would say WB Games Boston could make a Nightwing game. They could get all of the mechanics and character designs of Nightwing from Rocksteady Studios because they have worked with Nightwing in the past, such as Arkham City and Arkham Knight, and they could actually pull off a very, very good Nightwing game. I think that a Nightwing game is long overdue, and playing as Nightwing was one of my favourite parts of the Arkham series. He's a great character with a lot of great villains who actually deserves video game treatment, in my opinion. Next would be WB Games San Francisco, and they will be making an Aquaman game. Now, Aquaman is a pretty big IP, but if you think about it, if they had the time over the course of 5 years while all these other studios are developing their own games and releasing them, they could make a very good Aquaman game. They could get help from other studios like WB Montreal and Rocksteady Studios to actually work on the mechanics and develop them to get them the best that they could be for maybe undersea travel and oversea travel, and then eventually we would actually have a very excellent Aquaman game at the end of the production of the game. Aquaman has a lot of great stories, he's a great character, and he's a lot of great villains that just need to be told in video game format. Next would be WB Games San Diego making a Shazam game. I think that a Shazam game is well overdue, and I think that he's a brilliant character with brilliant stories and brilliant villains. Although he is more of a smaller character within the DC universe, we have actually seen a rise in his popularity due to his film last year. So I think a Shazam game would be well appreciated by the fans, and I think it would actually sell pretty well. Obviously, they could work with the other teams again to work on mechanics for Shazam, flying techniques which they could get from Monolith Studios, from the Superman game, and eventually at the end of it, they could make a very excellent single-player Shazam game. Nearing the end now, we go over to WB Games New York, who I believe should work on a Green Lantern game. Now, I can hear you all saying now, why are you giving the more bigger, kind of larger, more difficult IPs to all of the very smaller companies, like Aquaman, or Shazam, or Green Lantern? Well, if you think about it, if they were given loads of years, like say 7 or 6 years to develop these games, to create the mechanics, to create the stories, while these Batman and the Flash, Green Arrow games were releasing at the time to keep DC fans interested, then they would come out with a very excellent video game that they could then build off of and make more sequels to. And I think that Green Lantern is one of those heroes that needs a video game. He's a very interesting and complex character, and the stories and the space in which he lives in is very interesting and deserves to be in video game format. Obviously, they could get flying mechanics from Monolith Studios from the Superman game, and I think that the Green Lantern game would be a very interesting way to tell the Green Lantern story. We could have parts of it in space, parts of it on Earth, we could have co-op mechanics with all the other members of the Green Lantern Corps. It would be very interesting, and they could get those co-op mechanics from Rocksteady Studios, because they use co-op mechanics in Batman Arkham Knight, and they seem to be using co-op mechanics in their newest video game. And finally, to finish off the video, we will be having Avalanche Studios making a Suicide Squad video game. The Suicide Squad are a very interesting team, and it has been rumoured for many years that Rocksteady Studios are working on a Suicide Squad game. If this isn't the truth, I think Avalanche Studios should do it. Avalanche Studios are an epic team who have worked kind of in the co-op region in the past. So I think if they did a Suicide Squad game and built it up over the years, making their own mechanics, character designs, maybe getting character designs from Rocksteady Studios and WB Montreal, because they will have worked with some of the Suicide Squad characters, then they could make a very epic Suicide Squad game. They'd have to pick a really good story, and they'd have to figure out how to really do the co-op mechanics well, so players didn't get bored and the game just doesn't feel really repetitive. But I think the Avalanche Studios could really pull that off. So that is my idea for a DC gaming universe that WB could potentially create over the coming years. If you think about it, at the end of the next 6 years leading up to 2026, or the end of the next 7 years leading up to 2027, WB could have a whopping amount of 11 epic titles for their DC gaming universe. And that's not thinking about all the other studios that they might own in the future that could make a possible Justice League game or a Martian Manhunter game. I don't know. I don't know what road WB are going to take, but I guess we're just going to have to find out. What do you guys think of my potential idea for a DC gaming universe? Did you like it? Did you not? Which video games do you think should be included, and which characters do you think deserve their own video game? Please tell me in the comments below. Please like the video and subscribe for more Arkham content and more Batman content and more DC gaming content in general. But you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!